What we are going to do today is to revise our previous topics, and they are displayed on the screen. Do you see my screen? Please tell me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, we are going to focus on the revision of these previous two topics, which is photosynthesis and respiration. And what we are going to start with is the part about photosynthesis. We are going to do it using pictures. So this is the revision prepared, and yes, there has been displayed something, and this is what I'm going to ask about. But ahead of it, tell me, in the process of photosynthesis, something must be taken from the surrounding, from the nature. Which substances or anything is needed for photosynthesis from the surrounding?
So, as I remember, it's energy from the sun, carbon dioxide, and water.
Yes, you remember it perfectly. Very well done. Thank you. So the process of photosynthesis needs these items, these substances, and energy of the sun, and it needs also special site, special place to be able to happen. Where does photosynthesis happen? Where is it going on? Where is it placed?
I think it's in chloroplast in eukaryotes and in thylakoids in prokaryotes.
Perfect answer, very well done. So this is the organelle. I hope you remember this is the chloroplast having thylakoids inside, yes, and if we talk about prokaryotes, chloroplast is not formed, but these thylakoids are present and they are then sites of photosynthesis. You have mentioned that sunlight is needed for photosynthesis. Tell me, is it needed, is it required throughout the whole process of photosynthesis, or just for a part of it?
No, I think that just the primary processes of photosynthesis depend on direct sunlight.
Very well done, thank you. Just primary processes, and the other part, those secondary processes, are not directly dependent on sunlight. Perfect. So the energy of the sunlight is processed somehow in primary processes and placed into a special substance which has a sort of abbreviation we use for it, and this substance has very special bond in it. Could you give me the abbreviation and the name of the bond into which the energy is placed?
So I suppose it's ATP, and the bond is called macroergic bond, and it is rich in energy.
Yes, this bond is rich in energy. Very well done. So here you can see how pigments collect and channel energy towards the chlorophyll A, which processes this energy and temporarily deposits it into ATP molecule. Yes, adenosine triphosphate, which contains that energy-rich bond, macroergic bond. Perfect. So in primary processes, there is also one important process involved. It is photolysis of water. So this is the complexity of the process of this primary stage, light-dependent stage. We are not going to revise all of it, but let's recollect what happens to water and which important byproduct is released in this photolysis of water.
Oxygen is released, and it's really important because we need it for aerobic respiration of cells.
Exactly. The released oxygen, which is no more needed in photosynthesis, we require for our survival. Perfect. Okay, so you know that then these substances produced in primary processes, ATP and also hydrogens, which are found in reduced coenzymes, are needed in those secondary processes, in those light-independent processes, in order to prepare very precious molecule, that organic substance which we crucially need as the product of photosynthesis. Which one?
Glucose.
Yes, glucose is the final result of photosynthesis. Here you can see the equation of photolysis, oxygen released, and here is that well-known Kelvin cycle which produces glucose. So the final result of photosynthesis. Last question about photosynthesis. If the plant produces certain amount of glucose, how much of it can it keep for its own need, for its future use? And how much of it must be returned back to the cycle again?
I think 1/6 is retained by the plant, and the rest, the other 5/6, are returned back.
Okay, very well done. So I see you can remember quite a lot of this topic, and we can switch to respiration very quickly. We are not going to revise it in a deep. We are just going to mention few facts. So I hope that you remember that respiration consists of 3 stages: glycolysis, Krebs cycle, and electron transport chain. Yes, these are those stages which are placed in cytoplasm, this first one, and the other 2 are found and are placed in mitochondrion, the organelle of respiration. But tell me, why actually do we breathe? Why this cellular respiration is so important? What do we gain from it?
Well, as far as I remember, we gain energy, which is stored in ATP.
Yes, very well done. You remember it perfectly. We gain energy, and the energy is placed into those ATP molecules, and it is then used from them. And to summarize it and to finish this topic, I just want you to recollect the difference between the number of ATP molecules which are gained in glycolysis in contrast to the number of them gained through aerobic process. Yes, the whole process. Is there any difference?
Yes, there is a difference. In anaerobic respiration, 2 ATP molecules are formed, and in aerobic respiration, 36 ATP molecules are formed.
Very well done. So it is really advantages to be aerobic as we are and to use oxygen in our cellular respiration. So these were topics which we have finished, and what we are going to work on now and focus on now is our future topic, future chapter, which is quite long, and we are going to study presentations and pieces of information in all these 5 phyla, and you can read these titles. There is cell division, chromosomes, and Mendelian genetics, molecular basis of genetics. So to use just one expression for it, we are going to focus on genetics in future 2 or 3 months. But I hope it is going to be very interesting for you, because what we are going to focus on primarily is your body, your own existence. So tell me, how is it possible that you exist? What was the very first activity through which your existence started? What happened?
It was the fusion of sex cells.
Yes, fusion of sex cells, marvelous. All of us are the result of sexual reproduction, fusion of sex cells. And through this fusion, there is a special cell formed which has a special name. In any type of sexual reproduction of organisms, yes, if sex cells fuse, the very first cell has the special name, and it is known as, how do we name it? Please tell me.
I think name of the cell is zygote.
Yes, you remember it well. we have come across it in the study of bryophytes, of mosses, yes, and there we mentioned the name zygote. So this is our very first cell of our bodies. But of course, you haven't remained in the form of just one cell. You have grown up, and my question is: are you somehow similar to your parents? Can you see any similarities between you and your parents?
Yes, there are some similarities, as we are similar to our parents in some features. For example, that we have similar color of our eyes or hair.
Exactly. So we share some features with them. And how is it possible? What has happened actually?
Because we inherit some of the features from them.
Inherit. Interesting. So if we inherit some features, because we are also studying English and we are going to enrich our vocabulary or revise part of it, there is special name, special noun, which is used if we want to express that we inherit features from parents. Does anyone know the name, the word?
Is it heredity?
Very well done, heredity. Sometimes students have tendency to mistake it for heritage, but heritage is if you inherit a house, but if you inherit some features, it is heredity. And how it is possible, how it happens that we actually inherit some features. What do we actually inherit?
Genes, genetic information.
We inherit genetic information. So tell me more, where is the genetic information seated? Where would you search for it? Where would you find it? In our bodies or perhaps cells?
I believe in nucleus.
And your answer is perfect. It is in a nucleus. Not only in it, because we studied the structure of the cell and we have also discussed mitochondria and chloroplasts having their own genetic information, but most of it is found in nucleus. And there is special material in it. Yes, we can see just mass of something, and scientists have given a name to this material. Could you somehow recollect it? The name of this material? What is hidden inside the nucleus?
There is chromatin inside.
Yes, the material is known as chromatin. Oh yes, we can also read it here in a legend, in this legend. Yes, chromatin. And what I am interested, if you remember what I'm interested in, what the chromatin consists of. There are two chemicals present there, two important chemicals in, yes?
It consists of DNA and proteins.
DNA and proteins. And this was the question in the past for scientists. Which of them is actually the carrier of genetic information? So which of them is?
It's DNA.
It is DNA. And DNA is an abbreviation. And I would like to hear the full name of DNA. Do you know it?
The full name is deoxyribonucleic acid.
Perfect. Deoxyribonucleic acid. And I hope you remember this picture. This is a single building brick of this deoxyribonucleic acid of DNA, consisting of phosphate group sugar, namely deoxyribose, thereof the name is, and nitrogenous base, and there are 4 of them available for different nitrogenous bases, and these nucleotides are chained, and then eventually this double-stranded DNA structure is formed, and we are going to focus on it later on in our future lessons, how the bonds are formed and why these strands are kept together. So it is really interesting. And what we also are going to study is what happens to DNA then? What happens to genetic information? It is transcribed into another type of nucleic acid. This is RNA, and then this information written in genes is translated into something, into very special molecules, very special chemical substances, which are able to regulate processes in our bodies. Which organic molecules am I talking about?
They are called proteins. They are also enzymes, and also most hormones are formed from them.
Yes, very well done, perfect. You have named enzymes and hormones, and these chemicals actually regulate and influence our metabolism and processes in each cell of our body. So this is how the information is sent from DNA to mRNA and to protein. And we are going to study how it is possible and what it actually means to be transcribed and translated. But let's return back to the zygote, to the very first cell of your body. What has happened to it? How is it possible that you have enlarged? Has just the zygote enlarged itself, or what has happened to it?
It has divided, and the new cells have divided again to form the body.
That's it. So the story of growing is in fact the story of cell division. Zygote is the cell which divides into, and it forms two copies, and then later on each of them forms other two copies, and so on, and the body grows. So this is what you work with. You always have your body with yourself. Yes, you carry it, and you can walk, you can touch objects, and so on. And the body consists of cells. So try to think of your cells. Do you think they contain the same genetic information or different genetic information? What do you think?
I think they contain the same genetic information.
Yes, you are right. It should be done this way. Genetic information should be the same. Sometimes, unfortunately, genes mutate and we can suffer from certain diseases, which also are going to be discussed. But if everything works perfectly, we should have the same genetic information in each of our cells. So as I have stated, zygote gives rise to two cells. Yes, it is split into or divided into two cells which are identical. They have the same genetic information and they are identical with each other and also identical in terms of genes with the zygote. So how is it possible? What must happen to genetic material ahead of cell division?
Well, the genetic material must be doubled.
Yes, it must be doubled. We must form a copy of it to be able to place this material into two genetically identical cells. Exactly, and this is what is known as DNA replication. Yes, and you can see it here. We start with a certain genetic material and then it is duplicated and then it is somehow sorted into two daughter cells, and we are going to discuss these processes. What not very exactly, yes, because we are not scientists, you are just students, but we are going to roughly describe what happens there. Okay. So this is how you grow. And when you are adults, when we are adults, at least some of us participate in sexual reproduction. Without doing it, humankind would die out. So in our bodies, sex cells are produced and then sex cell fuses with another one and it forms the basis of the future organism, the new zygote. So if you think of it, sex cells produced in your bodies and giving rise to a new organism through fusion with another sex cell. If you think of it, what do you presume? Is there any difference in the amount of genetic material in the body cell and in the sex cell?
Yeah, I think that if there wasn't any, the amount of genetic material would be doubled with each new generation.
Yes. So what must happen then to the genetic material during the production, the formation of sex cells? Okay, so yes, it can't be the same. So it must be reduced, and it is reduced by half. And this is what we are also going to study. Here you can see the fusion of the sex cell, each containing certain amount of genetic material, or in other words, certain number of chromosomes. And in the resulting cell, in the zygote, the number of chromosomes is doubled, yes? It is twice that many as it is in a sperm or in egg. So if you focus on this last picture of our introduction to the topic, you can see that the zygote gives rise to embryo which grows and becomes adult, and identical cells are produced, all of them having the same number of chromosomes, which is 46. When sex cells are produced, the number of chromosomes is reduced by half, and it is just then 23 of them in sex cells. So that means we must have at least 2 different types of cell division. And they are there. There is standard cell division, mitosis, giving rise to exactly the same cells in terms of genes and number of chromosomes. And we have meiosis, which is reductive division. And this is one of the nearest lessons during which we are going to discuss cell division and these 2 types. Thank you very much for participation, and I hope you are looking forward to the study of genetics. Thank you. So we shall meet at next lesson. Bye, and have a nice rest of the day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you again, and I'm going to finish the lesson now. Okay, have a nice day. Bye.